Hello and welcome back to Word Unlocked. I'm Jake.
And I'm Sarah. And today's word has a taste. Literally. Think of dark coffee with no sugar, or a lemon slice. That sharp, unpleasant sensation on your tongue, that is bitter. And English uses that same feeling, that sharpness, that unpleasantness, to describe emotions, conflicts, and even weather.
Yes, one word, three very different worlds, all connected by the same core feeling, something unpleasant that lingers. Sarah, the word?
Bitter.
Bitter. Let's learn it.
Bitter means sharply unpleasant, and that unpleasantness stays. It doesn't fade quickly. Bitter emotions linger. Bitter conflicts escalate. Bitter cold cuts through you. The defining quality of bitter is always, it doesn't go away easily.
And unlike angry, which is hot and explosive, bitter is cold, slow. It settles in and stays. That is what makes it particularly heavy.
Now the chunks.
Chunk 1. Bitter about something. You hold a grudge about a past injustice, a past failure, a moment where you were treated unfairly and you haven't let it go. You are still bitter about it.
For example, she is still bitter about how the project ended. Years later, the project is done, everyone else has moved on, but she holds the feeling still. Bitter about it.
Bitter about something is always about the past. You're not angry about what is happening now, you're bitter about what happened then. The bitterness is pointed backwards at something that cannot be changed.
And that is exactly what makes bitterness so heavy. Anger can be resolved. The situation changes, the anger can lift. Bitterness cannot be resolved by changing the present, because it lives in the past.
Chunk 2. A bitter dispute or a bitter rivalry. Two sides in conflict, and the conflict is not just disagreement, it's personal, unforgiving, with real animosity behind it.
For example, the two companies have been locked in a bitter dispute for years. Not a professional disagreement being handled maturely, a bitter one, where both sides genuinely dislike each other, where the conflict has become more than the original issue.
A bitter rivalry is similar. Two competitors, but the competition has gone beyond professional into personal. Both sides want the other to lose, not just to win themselves. That additional dimension of wanting the other side to suffer, that is what makes it bitter.
Chunk 3. A bitter pill to swallow. A very common idiom, an unpleasant truth or outcome that you're forced to accept. You don't want to, but you have no choice. You swallow the bitter pill.
For example, realizing the business idea wasn't viable after 2 years of work, that was a bitter pill to swallow. You invested 2 years, you believed in it, and the reality, the business was not going to work, was a bitter pill. Hard to swallow, but necessary.
A bitter pill to swallow is very useful because it acknowledges two things. The thing was genuinely unpleasant, bitter, and you accepted it anyway, swallowed. Both the difficulty and the maturity of accepting it. Chunk 4.
Leave a bitter taste. An interaction or event ends, but the feeling doesn't end with it. It stays in your mouth, metaphorically. The experience left a bitter taste.
For example, the way the negotiation was handled left a bitter taste. Not just, I didn't like the outcome, deeper. The process itself, the behavior involved, created a lingering disgust, a bitter taste that remained long after the conversation ended.
Leave a bitter taste is important in professional relationships because it is not just about results. How something is done matters as much as what is achieved. A good outcome, handled badly, can still leave a bitter taste.
And chunk 5. Bitterly. The adverb. Doing something with extreme resentment, or describing weather that is genuinely harsh and cutting.
For example, she bitterly regretted the decision. Not just regret, bitter regret. The feeling has sharpness and weight to it. Or it was bitterly cold. Not just cold, the cold had an edge. It cut through you. Bitterly cold.
Bitterly cold is one of those phrases where the word actually makes you feel colder. You read bitterly cold and something in your body responds. Language is remarkable that way.
Two stories. Mine first, about bitter about something. A few years ago, I was part of a team that was nominated for an internal award. We had worked hard. The project had gone well. We genuinely believed we had a strong case. Another team won, and looking at the results, I felt something that took me a while to name correctly. It wasn't just disappointment, it was something sharper, something that lingered. I was bitter about it. Not about the other team winning, about the criteria, about the process, about what felt like an unfair evaluation. And I carried that bitterness for longer than was useful.
What changed it?
A conversation with someone I trusted. She said, "You are spending energy on something you cannot change. The decision was made. Being bitter about it doesn't reverse it, it just costs you energy you could spend on the next thing." Simple, but it landed. The bitterness was pointing backwards at something fixed, and I was using current energy to fuel it. That was the waste.
Bitterness borrows energy from the present to power anger at the past, and the past never changes, so the energy is always lost.
Exactly. I let it go. Not immediately, gradually, but I let it go.
My story is about a bitter pill to swallow, and it is about a creative project I invested real time in. 2 years ago, I spent several months developing an idea, a project I was genuinely excited about. I researched it, I planned it carefully, I started building it. And about 4 months in, I showed it to someone whose opinion I deeply respected. She looked at it carefully, and then she said, honestly and kindly, "This space is already very crowded. There are 3 very established players doing almost exactly this, and doing it very well. I am not sure there is room for a 4th. That was a bitter pill to swallow. 4 months of work, real excitement, and the honest assessment was the opportunity wasn't there.
What did you do?
I sat with it for a few days, let the bitterness of it pass. Remember, bitter doesn't go away immediately. And then I looked at what I had built and asked, is there a different version of this that does have a clear space? There was. A narrower version, more specific, less crowded. I pivoted. The project exists today in that smaller, more focused form, and it works.
You swallowed the bitter pill and then you used the information it contained to do something better.
That is the only right response to a bitter pill. Feel the bitterness, accept the reality, and then use the truth to build something better.
Okay, let's finish. Bitter, sharply unpleasant, and lingering. In emotions, a grudge that won't release. In conflicts, animosity that goes beyond the professional. In experiences, a taste that stays after the event ends. And in weather, a cold that cuts through you.
Your 5 chunks: bitter about something, holding a long-term grudge about a past injustice or failure, a bitter dispute or rivalry, an aggressive personal conflict where both sides harbor real animosity, a bitter pill to swallow, an unpleasant truth or outcome you're forced to accept. Leave a bitter taste, when an experience creates a lingering feeling of disgust or distrust, and bitterly, doing something with extreme resentment, or describing weather that is harshly cold.
Homework today. Is there something you are currently bitter about? Something from the past that you are still carrying? Name it honestly, and then ask, what would it cost me to let this go? And what is it currently costing me to hold on to it?
Bitterness is always more expensive than it looks. It costs your present energy to keep the past alive, and the past, whatever it was, cannot be changed.
Let the bitter thing teach you what it can, and then let it go.
Thanks for listening to Word Unlocked. See you next time.
Stay curious, release the bitter, keep the lesson. Later.
That was surprisingly wise for a sign-off.
Without hesitation.